Today, we are going to be talking about wealth and health. And my guest is very passionate about helping people look at both their health and wealth because she believes that both go hand in hand. Before I bring in my guest, I'm going to do a quick intro to who I am. My name is Andrea Donsky. I'm a nutritionist for more than 20 years. I'm a menopause educator, published menopause researcher, and the co-founder of wearemorphus.com, a company that helps to empower you to take control of your health and symptoms with nutrition, lifestyle, supplements, and research. And speaking about supplements, we've got a whole line of supplements on our website at wearemorphus.com. These are high quality, science-backed supplements that myself and my partner Randy approve and take ourselves. So definitely check them out. We put a link below. You can also go to wearemorphus, morphus.com under shop. Today I'm speaking with Nancy Griffin. She's the president and founder of Women, Worth, and Wellness. She aims to support women in elevating their health and financial independence. From being a published author in Turning Point Moments to receiving the Canada 125 Award for Community Leadership, Nancy is committed to always being about helping women balance their health and wealth, enhance their net worth and self-worth, and plan for their philanthropic legacy. Now here's Nancy. Welcome to Menopause Reimagined, Nancy.
Thank you.
So you reached out to me because I know you were in wealth management and you had asked to come on our podcast because you believe that speaking to women about wealth involves health, which I absolutely agree with. So can you tell me a little bit about what you do and what your message is to our listeners?
Okay, well, I was a wealth advisor. I sold my wealth advisory practice, but while I was a wealth advisor, obviously you've got to find your own clients. You're working for an organization, but you need to build your own practice with your own clients. And so I very much focused on women, not exclusively, but really focused on their health because women, as you probably know, have a disproportionate amount of responsibility for health and wellness in their families. They're expected to look after parents and kids and staff and themselves and practically the whole neighborhood. But who has any time to be that on-site health practitioner? So what I started to do was partner with a lot of not-for-profit health-related organizations focusing on women's health. We know that heart and stroke are the leading cause of death for women, not breast cancer. And we also know that the symptoms for heart disease for women are quite different for women than they are for men, because of course the research has been done on men. So educating women, increasing their awareness about what those symptoms are, is really, really beneficial in my opinion. However, if you think somebody has a symptom of heart disease, where do you get the information? If you call your doctor, are they going to take the call? Google, does it give you all the info? So by connecting with Heart and Stroke Foundation and all the work that they do, you now have some resources available to you to help you understand more about what is involved. That's just one example. Certainly all the different health-related organizations for women are ones that I brought into their focus area as well.
So I guess what is your goal in terms of, is it a matter of bridging the gap between health and wealth? Like, what is your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is that women own their lives, period, and that they own their own health and that they own their own wealth scenario. It's basically your life. So what are you doing to understand what your health scenario is now, and how do you stay healthy for the rest of your life to the very best of your ability? I mean, obviously life happens, but if you're a driving force in your own health and well-being, there are some things that you can do. Same thing with wealth. Now, I picked up on the menopause topic because I remember going through it myself and how a lot of those symptoms at a time when your leadership trajectory is very positive get in the way. And no woman wants to be embarrassed in front of other women or other business associates. And so you step aside. And in my own situation, I became a certified financial planner. The exam is 6 hours long. You have no break, no break. You're not allowed to take a break at all. And so at that moment in my life, there was frequent urination. It's like, oh my God, how will I survive? So I went to my doctor. My doctor gave me some meds that are used for performers. And of course, that reduced the anxiety level because you're already anxious whether I'm going to pass this exam or not. And to have this symptom of menopause layered on top, it's just overwhelming, overwhelming. So my goal, as I looked back on those years, is to put this topic front and center so that women just keep going. Like, do what I did, go to your doctor, get whatever your symptoms are, have them addressed so that you're not stepping aside from the leadership trajectory that you're on. The world, in my opinion, needs more leaders, um, led by or needs more women leaders stepping up into big roles. And if menopause is getting in the way, don't let it happen.
Yeah, that definitely gets in the way. We have a whole survey called Women in the Workplace, and that's exactly what our research is on, is how it can get in the way of many women who are in the workplace, who are working. So how do we get around that? And so when it comes to wealth, I mean, I'd like to go back for a second and talk about wealth in women in general and what has it been in the past, like, based on your knowledge in terms of how many women are in the wealth sector and how many women when it comes to wealth. Like, to me, it seems like it's something that's a little bit more common for men. Like, I even know if I look at like VCs or venture capitalists and who's funding who, generally from what I understand is women. So there's two parts of it, like from the women on the owning their wealth and then women receiving wealth. And from what I understand, it's a very small percentage of money that gets given to women in general. And then women over 50, I mean, that's even like way tinier.
Yep, exactly. Well, in just what you've said, there's so many different aspects to all of that where women are not leading the way. They're not. But meanwhile, women are the ones that make at least 80% of the buying decisions.
Right. Right.
So, how come we don't have a seat at the table? It's
Mm.
just ridiculous. A lot of it, in my opinion, isn't just society, it's women themselves. Like, don't get in your own way. Don't get in your own way. Like, step it up, figure it out. With regards to the wealth scenario, often women won't ask the questions because they feel anxious about the questions they're asking because they feel they should have known more by now. But to your point, in families, often men were the ones that looked after the investment, not necessarily the money, because women look after the household budget more often than not. It's men who are looking after the investment portfolio, and therefore women are expected to look after the health scenario. Okay, well, let's just mix this up. And women start into the whole investment scenario. I did so many seminars on, I forget what the title was, appreciating your life. I think that was it, appreciating your life, investing in yourself. And it's like, okay, what are the things that I need to know in order to get started? I was on a podcast with a woman from New York, and she said, okay, Nancy, what should we be buying now? And I said, in the wealth advisory business, the first order of business, in order to be validated in the business, is know your client. And this is what you're scrutinized very, very carefully on. And if somebody complains that they were invested in the wrong things, the immediate go to, how well did you know that client to begin with? And it's no different than going to a doctor. First order of business, more often than not, is to do blood work. So people have got to get a handle on that. Professional needs to get a handle on who you are right now. Who are you? And that analysis then helps this whole process of, okay, where do we go from here?
I remember when my mom, she got divorced from my dad. They were together for 33 years. And when they did, she was adamant about understanding her finances. And she would tell me and my sister that we need to understand it and make sure that we're on top of our money management and our, understanding money in general. And yeah, she would get an allowance. Like my mom always reminds me, she would get an allowance from my dad for the household
Correct.
items,
Right.
right? And
Right.
she'd be like,
Right.
she used to say to me, like, I never want you to live like that. That's why she was very much about us working and making our own money. So, what do you think? And obviously, I'm hoping it's changing now for the next generation. But why do you think it was even like? Why do you think it's like that? Why do you think women take a backseat?
Because they allow it to happen. More and more women realize that it's a must. So it's no longer it's more unacceptable now to not pay attention than it was previously. Previously, women was almost like, well, I don't know. I don't know what a mortgage is. I don't know how this all works. So you kind of prettied yourself to the man. But now it's not, no, I'm not going to live like that. I'm not going to behave like that. I want to know and I want to understand. In order to do well, and I'm sure your mother has found this out, you're not a licensed advisor yourself. I mean, obviously you can do a lot yourself, but it's like looking after your health yourself. You still need a doctor. You still need professionals to help you. And the best thing that you can have in both your health and wealth scenario is that you work with a trusted advisor.
Right,
And the
exactly.
trusted advisor is somebody who's got all the credentials and all the capabilities, but more importantly, has an attitude and an approach to look after you well. That doesn't mean that person does it all for you. It just means that that person is looking after your best interests and making sure you understand what the plan is that that person is recommending. And a lot of it comes from what your priorities are that you're feeding to that professional. So it's very much a symbiotic relationship.
My mom's very proud. She's 78. She's so proud of the fact that she tells me all the time that she speaks to her financial advisor. I think they have a call like once a month and she gets
Perfect.
updated. Oh yeah, she is so on top of her finances. It's like she's an inspiration, my mom. Like I love that that's something that she instills in myself and my sister. So it's big in terms of what her values are. But I don't, like I said, it only happened once she left her marriage where my dad had done all of it, right? So it's nice to see that, that even my someone like even my mom is that something that's important for her.
It might be good sometime, I mean, you don't want to be rude or intrusive, is to ask her why she hadn't done that previously when she was married. What had caused her behavior to choose to behave the way she did?
And when you say, and I'm going to ask her. My mom is very open about several different things. So I'm sure she would be very open to me saying it. But I also know, I think I'm pretty sure I know what her answer would be. It's probably a generational thing
Yes,
as well,
definitely.
right? So it was just like that. When she got married, she was 23. She was really young at the time, so I think that plays a role in it. But you were saying, when I asked you why do you think women allow it to happen, you're like because they let them. But what does that mean exactly?
They haven't chosen to step up and educate themselves and find a trusted advisor like your mother did. Like your mother was terrific to say, I choose this. I want to know. I want to be in control. And she took all those steps to do that. A young woman, 16 years old, 20, 35, you name it, can choose to behave the same way. And that's really what I advocate.
Mm. So you're saying, as women, we should take an interest in our finances, in our wealth, be able to. It's empowering, anyways,
Right.
for us to be able
Exactly.
to be able to do that.
Drive your own bus for your own life.
And what are some tips that you have to share for women? So let's say right now women are listening and be like, you know what, I'm not as involved or know as much. What would be your top three tips for them to get started?
Well, are they working with an advisor to begin with?
Yeah.
If not, they should be, because if they aren't, then maybe they know it all themselves. If they don't know it themselves, then seeking out a trusted advisor is crucial. And how do you find a trusted advisor? Well, you ask friends and family, and you do lots of interviewing. You make sure that they've got the credentials and the capability. But as I mentioned, you want to make sure that they're going to care about you. That's really, really
Very
important,
important.
that they're going
Yeah.
to go out of their way for you to make sure that you've got the best plan in place.
hmm And
The other thing too is none of us gets out of here alive, and none of us knows when it's the last day we're here. And so when I was an advisor, nobody wants to talk about death. But what you ask your clients to get things in order is, imagine it's the day after you've passed on. What does your world look like? And as a wealth advisor, any of my clients, I wanted them to answer confidently, everything's in order, so
mm,
that they'd leave my office and walk out into the middle of traffic and say, hit me. Like, my affairs are in order. If anything happens to me, and of course, as you get older, you revise that plan. You revise the plan every 2 or 3 or 5 years, but you revisit it to make sure that that plan is still very, very sound, very sound.
As women who are in that sandwich generation, like a lot of the women listening to our podcast are we're we are Gen Xers. We're taking care of our parents, and we have kids. How do you recommend that we talk to our parents about that? Because it's not
That's
an easy conversation.
no, no, that's a really, really, really good question because I'm thinking about you with your mom. At this point in time, the conversation, and maybe well, I'm sure she has had it with her advisor, is what is her legacy plan? Like, what is her legacy plan? And does she have a philanthropic interest? Because philanthropy for end of life planning is extremely powerful. And I'm actually about to possibly go off on a tangent because a lot of those philanthropic dollars are directed either when the person chooses them themselves and says, okay, I really want to direct X amount to whatever, or somebody suggests it. But if your advisor is not in favor of it, and sometimes advisors won't be because they're not philanthropically focused themselves, or they don't want to lose those assets from their own book of business, that client may never proceed with directing any dollars philanthropically. So you're held at the mercy of that advisor. So that's a good thing, but it also can be a challenging thing. But that's why when individual clients educate themselves, then you use that advisor as a catalyst to help you understand. The next step is if you decide you want to direct dollars philanthropically, where are they going? And that advisor has a role to play in helping you understand how good that organization is at doing what you think you're investing in. How well does that organization run their business, their not-for-profit business? So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that end of life planning, lots of lots of aspects. I would suspect that maybe you and your sister are both involved with your mom's estate, and so together have that conversation. And
Well,
and
we
it can,
have. My mom's on top of it. We actually did a podcast around it. Actually, I'll put a link below, but my mom is, I have everything. She has given me all her paperwork and she updates it all the
perfect.
time. I want to help the women who are listening to this podcast to help them, have that conversation with their parents.
Okay, well, let's turn the roles around. What about you sharing your legacy plan with your mother or your sister so
Hmm,
that you're putting all your cards on the table in terms of where you're at currently, what your thinking is, and what plans you have in place or are
interesting.
thinking about putting in place. Because she's looked after, which is fabulous. But you being younger with your life ahead of you, lots of life ahead of you, thinking about exactly what she's done now sooner rather than later is really, and she'd be a great a great resource, a second opinion. This is what I'm thinking, this is what I've got in place, this is, what do you think, Mom?
What do you think about, how can women change their mindset around money?
Well, I think it's all about their mindset about power, because as soon as you step up to choosing to know more about money, then you're increasing your level of knowledge, but then also your level of power. You're not at the mercy of somebody else who may be trying to talk you into something that you don't know.
Hmm.
So it's education, it's awareness, and it's determination that you're going to own it. And you've shared about your mom. That's it. And that's my message is that you own your life. Your own life is your greatest asset. So make sure you're as healthy as you can be and that you're making the most of your money.
You said that you were speaking to people about perimenopause, menopause, and andropause. How did that relate to wealth and wealth management?
Well, I presented to a bunch of wealth advisors, most of whom were men. And this one gentleman was so funny. He said, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea. I thought it was just night sweats only." He said, "I'm in an over 55 community." And I said, "Well, more and more people are talking about menopause. It is a topic of conversation." I said, "If you really want to be bold and you really want to have some fun, when you're at a cocktail or something, just say, I'd really like to talk about menopause. Who wants to talk about menopause?" And women will, everybody's got a story, everybody's got a history
Definitely do.
that they'll say, it's amazing, amazing The misdiagnoses that have come out and how that has affected people and how they sort of find out after the fact.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our community that we didn't talk about today?
Well, you and I connected when I reached out to you on the topic of menopause, and certainly it's a topic of it's a big topic. The more I got into it, the more I realized there was just so much there. But when I talked to these wealth advisors, I said often these symptoms, and my go-to was Sinai Women's Health. Some of the symptoms are early symptoms of dementia and Alzheimer's. And if you ever want to make sure you want to know how healthy you are, apply for life insurance. What they put you through before they, decide that you're going to get life insurance. But sometimes you're rated, meaning there's something here that means we can't give this person the best rate because we're concerned about their health. And that concern about their health could be a symptom of menopause, as simple as that, rather than what it's being classified as.
Very true.
So what I was working to do was to increase these wealth advisors' awareness of menopause and its symptoms so that they do a second check. Is this really so? Is this really what this is? Or is this potentially a symptom of menopause? So the whole wealth scenario has so many different aspects to it. So many different aspects. Well, like health.
So you're trying to get the word out there to rethink of, several different things actually.
Correct.
Trying to get the word out there and to help to educate people. We'll keep doing that because I think that's a really good angle as well from the insurance standpoint or life insurance standpoint, that it could be a symptom and it's not something that's a long-term chronic illness, right? It could just,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yep. No, that's exactly my mission and that's what Women Worth and Wellness is about. And then, 30 plus years, initially it was charitable giving. Now it's philanthropy because now women are stewarding so much more wealth and really paying attention to that whole aspect of legacy planning and philanthropy gives you the opportunity to really use that power and circle back and invest in areas where you think there is a need.
I love the philanthropy part. What about also investment part? What about women investing in other women or other things?
Oh, fabulous. And they're all, more and more, there are all sorts of ways that you can do that. And more, there are all sorts of different women's business related organizations. I was part of Women Presidents Organization out of New York. Now I was part of the first chapter in Canada, which was 2001. Now we've got, I think, 28 chapters across Canada, each one with 15 to 20 members. But there's also another business, which is kind of a feeder group for WPO, and that's Grow Your Biz. And, a lot of that gets you with other women, gets you talking about wealth, gets you talking about best business practices, and more importantly, and, recently, talking about health. Like you can't ignore your health. If you're not healthy, you're not going anywhere anytime soon.
So what you're
And
saying, Nancy, is that wealth and health are correlated and
hand in hand,
hand in hand, they go together.
hand in hand, hand in hand.
So take control of your health, take control of your wealth, do it together simultaneously. And if your health, like, it's almost like if you have them both, it's you're in that better position to be able to continue attracting things and bringing things your way.
Yep, doing more of your best.
Doing
Doing more
more.
of your best because you're not distracted with, if the markets are crashing, it's like, oh my goodness, that person will have anticipated that scenario and prepared you for it. Same thing with your health.
Mm-hmm.
So that if they're working in tandem, then you get to the next level and you keep on going and doing more of what you're good at.
So do you work one-on-one with people? Like, how do you help women?
No, normally I'm doing events. I'm doing, and how I generate revenue is through sponsors. So they sponsor my events and I either do them virtually or I do them in person. And then coming out of that, if I meet individuals who are interested in whatever, then I would do a redirect to somebody who I know who could help them. But I normally don't. I'm in a sociological space rather than a psychological space.
Hmm. Awesome. And how can people find you online?
I've got them in all those social medias, and we're everywhere, I think. But I think if they Google Women Worth and Wellness, they'll be able to track us down. My email is nancy@womenworthwellness.com. And so that's a great way to get in touch with me. Or just go to the social medias or LinkedIn, the works.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for doing this today.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. And you keep up all your great work. And hi to your mom. Good for her.
I will tell her that. She'll be happy to hear
For
that.
sure. Okay. Thank you.
If you enjoyed my interview with Nancy today, please share it because the more you share, it shows you care. And please take a moment to rate and review our podcast, Menopause Reimagined, because then the algorithm will send it out to more people. Thank you for spending the last little bit with me. I know there's a lot you could be doing, but instead you chose to spend your time with me. And for that, I'm grateful. I'll see you at the next interview.